everyone, I'm Tony Lontis and this is the Everyday Business Show.
I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, because if I fail, that means I fail for my entire female nation, I call it.
Is that possible? That was the question for myself. And it is absolutely possible.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Tony and Tony TV. This is the Everyday Business Show. And before we get on with the show and I introduce you to our amazing guest today, just a reminder, if you're listening to this live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, don't forget that we will pop the links to anything we talk about today in the chat box for you to follow up on. You'll also find information about our guest on the website, tonylontis.com, and also in any of the notes that accompany this interview wherever you're watching it. And a reminder too that you can catch up on previous episodes of the Everyday Business Show by jumping onto Binge Network's TV USA, Hero Go TV USA, the Tony TV channel app available on all Roku, Samsung and LG smart TVs across the planet. And something that we've been doing a lot of this year is our Welcome to Country, and it's a part of an international movement that acknowledges the special and important role Indigenous communities play in the development of a country's cultural identity. And I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region of Queensland, Australia, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and broadcast, and pay my respects to the elders past and present and all the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today that are listening to this interview and are present with us. So our special guest today is the beautiful Neeta Solanki. Now, before I introduce you to Neeta, here's what you need to know. Neeta Solanki works directly with female CEOs, predominantly in the business consulting industry, coaching them to live and leave a legacy. She puts the CEO first and focuses on ensuring that they are supported as human beings, coaching to build a bespoke business plan whilst unlocking hidden profit in their business. Now, Neeta has 20 years of experience in change management with people, technology, accounting, marketing, process improvement scenarios, planning and analytics. People that she works with, she invites them to embrace transparency. She has an uplifting and positive can-do attitude and sees problems as puzzles that need to be solved. She started her career with Cadbury's in the UK and left the corporate world of IBM in 2017. It's with great pleasure that I invite Neeta to the show today. Hello, Neeta.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Tony, for the opportunity. It's been, you've made the process so simple that it's been great. Thank you very much.
I love talking to women across the planet who work with leaders in a leadership capacity using all their wisdom and knowledge that they've gained from corporate world. And that's exactly what you've done, isn't it, Neeta?
Absolutely. And it's, it touches my heart to meet so many women that, are in a way in the same position. They've taken all their knowledge that they've, grasped over the years, and they in the position where they want to give back and leave their legacy. And it's so, I'm privileged to be part of their journey to kind of, and again, it doesn't matter what age they're at, because some of them want to build a legacy, some want to, when I say leave your legacy, it doesn't mean they're leaving the world. It's a case of they want to, they need to find themselves first to say, who am I? What legacy do I want to leave? And then just going through that journey with them it's heartwarming. Yes.
Nita, I want to just digress just a little bit back, and you've got an interesting story and you've embraced resilience over your life. Can you tell the audience a bit about where that resilience comes from?
Yes, I probably first discovered it when I was around 24, working on the Cadbury's grounds in,
Mm,
where the Cadbury's chocolate's made, smelling chocolate every day, which is absolutely
yum.
amazing.
Yum.
Yeah, and I did my accountancy degree. I just got married, and I passed my professional management accountancy exams. And I remember it was something like February 1997, and I had my manager kind of offered me the promotion that I was expecting. But then she said something which really, kind of killed it all. She said,
Yeah.
"You won't get anything better elsewhere." And I was like, that sounds like a challenge, And I'm like, so that's when I discovered the rebel in me. And it was like, oh,
Mm,
I think I'm about to prove you wrong, and that this from there, I kind of moved on. And before I knew it, when I was expecting to go into another accountancy role working for another
mm.
firm, I actually went into the software industry, which caught me by
Yes.
surprise. But I drew my role at it's now called Serco actually. During my role there, I found that again, I'll just go back a few years.
Yes.
I was brought up in a single parent family with 5 kids, and so it's a case of if you want something, you're going to have to go and get it yourself because you can't
Mm,
rely on other people. So when
yeah.
I was in that accountancy role, I didn't actually like to rely on IT and other people. So it's like, well, if I want something and I can actually do it, or I can ask for help, then why not? Which is where that can-do attitude actually comes from. And
Ah.
obviously, there was a few knocks on the way, and it's just a case of, well, if you know what you want and you know where you want to go, then that resilience automatically kicks in to say, you know, you've, no one's going to stop me. No
Mm.
one's going to define my future if I know what I want and I know I'm either capable of learning or doing it myself. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Nita, I often ponder the concept of resilience, and I've actually pondered it a lot in the last 2 years through this global pandemic. And it actually occurred to me, I began wondering where people's resilience has gone. There were, certain reactions, and I'm liking, it made me think that people were lacking in resilience skills. I'm just wondering what your thoughts around that are, because there was many people that just like did not want to bounce back. They did not want to embrace change that was brought about by the global pandemic. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are around the resilience of humanity at this present point in time.
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind is the people around you, the
Mm.
community. If you are faced with a challenge and you stay in your own shell, you're not only kind of beating yourself up, you go into that dark place. And so
Mm.
all those negative, what I call ants, you want to squash those ants, those automatic negative thoughts, they all
Yep.
come into play. And so people can, as I said, become reluctant to kind of fight for what they want and that resilience because they've gone into that own place. Whereas
Yep.
if they find themselves in a community that's supporting and uplifting, and they've got the family support as well as the working environment, and again, and I was exactly in the same position, it lifts you up.
Mm.
People will see qualities in you that you take for granted, and suddenly it's like, actually, you know what, you can do that because I saw you do it last week or last year or 5 years ago, and then you kind of remind yourself to say, actually,
Yeah.
yes, I can do that. And so by being around the right people that are helping you, remind you of the qualities that you have, or the greatness in you and where you want to go, what your dreams are, then they're going to uplift you. And so
Mm.
there's so much one can do for themselves to uplift them up, but being around the right people that are taking you forward but also uplifting you, I think that's where the magic
Yeah,
is.
and I think that's the beautiful thing about what you do, Nita, is the fact that we often don't see our positive qualities or need to be reminded of them, which is an absolute reason to have a coach, support, mentor on your side, because you need to be reminded of all the good traits that you have and all the good things that you've done and all the wonderful things you've been able to achieve. And I know after talking to many women at CEO level that they sometimes forget just how far they've come and just how much they've achieved and what else they can achieve. And that's where your services are so helpful for women working at that level. Neeta, I wanted to just ask you briefly about that time in 2017 when you were made redundant from IBM and what that was and how that was a catalyst in your life.
It certainly was a catalyst. And it's funny how there may have been a few signs before that event and you ignore them because you're in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the world just shakes and he's like, whoa, what's just happened here?
Yeah.
So my time in fact, 2016, we were celebrating women in technology. I was going to leadership courses and everything. And so it was very uplifting. And I actually made it to 100% Club. And I was thinking,
yes.
2017, I was like, what is going on? And so I was confused. I was doubting myself. I was like, what has happened? And when people say, oh, you're just a number, you really take it personally.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, and then because I was like, well, I know I like this. And I'm very good with, building rapport with customers, and customer satisfaction is so important to me. And I thought, well, all I can do is carry on showing up. There's customers that are vulnerable. They need that TLC, that tender loving care. And they need me to carry on serving them. And so that's what I did. So in the UK, we have what we call gardening leave, in terms of when you're being told you're at risk, you can stop and start looking after yourself, looking for something else. And that, but I was like, I think I need to carry on serving. And so I carried on looking after my clients. And what actually happened was, and again, that's what I said, you forget the qualities that you have.
Yeah.
One of the customers actually offered me a job, and I was like, oh, and what was even more touching was my time to them at the time was free, because it was just customers, almost like a technical account manager. I was like, whoa, are you willing to pay me for what I do? And suddenly you think, somebody actually values me, somebody sees qualities. And I'm like, oh. And even though I was still doubting myself, and when they offered me a management role within a month, I was like, but I haven't done this before. Yet they said, it's okay, we trust you can do it. And I was like, okay. And you know what, it was the best experience. It took me out of my comfort zone, but that resilience of, I know what I'm capable of doing. I know I've done it before.
Yeah.
And being reminded of what I can do and how I do bring people together and departments together. I was like, wow, let me just do it. And I did. And it was, at the end of there was a contract. At the end of the contract, the financial director said, I love the passion that you put into the business. You brought people together. When people invest in software, in some instances, it's left on the shelf. They don't use it. And it was like, people are actually using the investment that we've made. And I was like, wow, this has been. So it was so rewarding that I was thankful for the opportunity, but also to be reminded, or by just being myself, being vulnerable to say, I haven't done this before, and being honest, which is that transparency.
Yes.
It just, I'm going to say, it works in my favor. So no regrets at all.
Yeah. So at what point did you realize that you wanted to go into business for yourself, and that business would be around coaching high-level leaders at CEO level? Was there a moment that you suddenly thought, oh, I could actually do this all the time?
Yeah. And you go about, it's like, yes, people need business coaches. Well, I have a business coach as well.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't understand what your why is. And I was like, yes, I know you want to share your knowledge and everything, but what is the root cause? Why? And she was like, why? And she wouldn't let me. She was like, unless I spoke, she wasn't going to ask the next question. She was like, why? And I was like, and it really took me back to my childhood, but again, all of those moments of vulnerability or being knocked back, whether it was redundancy or whatever, that I realized that I'll try not to cry here.
That's okay. We welcome tears on this show. So
going back to single parent of a family. So I was the fourth child, the youngest daughter. And a few things in there was lots of hand-me-downs, which is fine, but it's like, but I want the new stuff. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But also it was where my sisters got on. There'll be times where, you know, 3 is a crowd sometimes. So it's like, okay, I'm balanced. It's fine. And then it was when I got made redundant, or actually when I was in that software world, I was the only one that had the accountancy degree that was doing analytics. And so although there was people with different skills, I was the only one that had that skill. And so it was like, when I needed support, who do I go to? And so there was times that I was finding that actually I've been alone in very instances. And although it built my resilience, there's times when you do doubt yourself. There's times when you feel lost. And what came out of my coaching session with my Brandy was actually, I get touched by helping people when they are stuck because I was there. When I wanted to, like 2 years ago, when I decided I wanted to become a coach and share the knowledge, even though I thought everything I knew was common knowledge, which was like, okay, it was like, it's because when I reached out to people to say, this is what I want to do, can I shadow you? Can I do this? They were too busy. And so it was like, okay, I'll try and do it myself. And obviously there's so much you can do yourself. I mean, I always say it's all good. You're fulfilling your passion, you're living your dream, but that doesn't qualify you to know how to run a business. And so it was like, I don't want any, and this happens in everyday life. If I have an experience, whether it's at a restaurant or a business, I don't want, if I didn't have a good experience, I don't want the next person to experience the same. I want them to basically have the best experience. And so what happened there is like, I don't want, where I've been alone, I don't want other people to be alone. So when I started my business, you know, help came and I valued it. So I'm not saying I did it by myself, but when I started off, when I was thinking about it, I was like, this is overwhelming. I was like, you know, what do I do? And so as the help came, I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter whether you're starting your business, whether you're, you know, in the scaling your business or you want to exit your legacy. You don't want to do it alone because you need to be reminded, again, what we talked about, you need to be reminded of what you've achieved. You need to be reminded of what makes you different, and make sure that you portray that out to, you know, to your team, to your culture, so that, you know, you do leave your legacy, but you also live it as well.
Definitely. So Neeta, you said before that you had a business coach that helped coach you. I've spoken of it many times in my own journey and my own business journey, that I've had coaches, mentors, sales mentors, all sorts of different people with specific skills that I thought that I probably didn't have the level of skill that I needed, and those people help educate and get you to the next level, don't they? So has that been a key component in your business life moving forward, Neeta?
Absolutely. You want to have that, you know, broad range of strategic advisors, okay? And so even though I can tap into, you know, mindset, client avatar, marketing, you know, cash flow and profit, I don't think, you know, I'm not an expert in specifically in marketing. And it's like, well, actually I need a marketing coach. And so my business coach is the overall, what I call, you know, taking that holistic approach. But I do actually have a sales coach. I actually have you know, a solicitor to help me on the legal side of things. And so it is so important to know, I say, do a SWOT analysis of yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And when it comes to weaknesses, is it something you want to learn? Or is it something you want to delegate? And when you're starting your own business, you try to do everything. And it's like, Okay, what's the first thing I want to get rid of when I can actually afford someone? And so
I know.
marketing, oh, get rid of it. And in fact, I'm in the process. I'm doing some interviews next Monday,
Yeah.
of so that I can actually have some help on the yeah, just kind of take a little bit load off me so that I can focus on my business
Mm,
rather than in my business, but
mm.
also knowing that where it probably takes me about 2 hours to do something on marketing, a marketing expert can do it in 10 minutes. Well,
I know.
actually, pay them so that I can focus on, finding the new
Doing what you
clients or
do. Yeah.
whatever it is. But
Yeah.
by doing that SWOT analysis, you get to do more of what you love, which is what, most likely are your strengths.
Mm.
And by becoming aware of your weaknesses, you can either let them go, delegate it, or actually learn because and I'm always learning. And it is so
Yeah.
fascinating because you get to think, oh, that's interesting. But also you get a broader view. You're not just like walking on blind eyes and say, this is my area, this is what I'm going to focus on. But by studying around the area, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts on health. And
Yeah.
and even though I'm not a health expert, I know the importance of sleep, I know the importance of
Yes.
diet and all of those things because and say I put the CEO first because I want them to show up healthy. If you want a healthy business, you've got to be a healthy person
Mm.
yourself, whether it's mentally or physically. And so I also have I do some holistic therapies as a hobby. So I do
Oh,
hands-on Reiki healing
wow.
and everything
Oh,
because it's
wow.
so important to do that. And the nice thing about Reiki is
Mm. It's
you can
so
actually do it. You can do it
gentle.
remotely. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do it remotely. And so where we've got Zoom to make this happen, Reiki can be traveling across the world as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice because I know one of my clients. Again, I look at them as a person as well as their business,
Mm.
and they really valued how I was helping them just have that better relationship at home and everything. And although that's not my expert area, it's a case
You can
of
still give
you can be
advice and help. Mm.
yeah, and also, well, you've got to be careful when you give advice because it's like all you can do is share your experience because they need to do it their own way.
Mm.
And whether it's in business
Definitely.
or personal, uh, you can because if so many people give you conflicting advice, you've got to say, well, what do I want to do?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
works for you? That's right. That's absolutely right, Neat. That's a really good nugget to take away is that you can get advice from lots of different experts, but at the end of the day, it's got to work for you. So, I remember having a sales coach that wanted me to do things in a certain way. Well, it just didn't work for me. So I had
mm,
to work out the way that it could work for me and still get the same results. Um,
yeah.
Nita, in talking about your the clients that you work with, what sort of results and benefits do they get from working with a coach of your level?
Okay. In fact, I had some testimonials just over the last couple of months, and it was so lovely to hear.
Yeah.
One of the ladies as CEO, um, in fact, she wasn't actually looking for a coach. It was like, I know all my friends are coaches. I don't need a coach. But then she
Mm.
said, this was in the first meeting, but if I was looking for a coach, I'd hire you. And I was like,
Oh,
okay.
good.
And then
Excellent.
turns out, and I've been seeing her for, in fact, she thought it was 6 months. I said, we've only been seeing each other for 3 months. And she,
Oh,
oh my God, I'm just making better decisions. I can just talk so that I'm inviting that transparency. And where again, it's not just about them, it's about their
mm,
environment. I'm
yeah.
actually bringing people together. And again, what I'm doing here is bringing all my experience to say, if you can make a difference, so
Mm.
if you want something to change, you should welcome to be that change first of
Yeah.
all. So if you
Yes.
find that departments aren't talking or team members aren't talking, well, even though I'm your business coach, let me go out and see them to see what is happening. And so it's been really valuable
Oh,
where,
wow.
there was one lady that just wasn't, I'm going to say, well, the CEO felt she was not
Yes.
committed, but actually, by seeing her, she's like, well, she has a different way of working. And
Mm.
so I said, well, let me work with you. And before you know it, she's showing up. They're working as a team. And so there's been a mixture of the CEO being, making better decisions, having that
Yes.
clarity, knowing what's important to them, as well as doing that SWOT analysis to say, I want to do more of that. I know what my values are, and I want to have those in the business. And so finding themselves helps them to find their business in terms of where they want their business to go.
Yeah.
And so I was just saying the three main things that I think you mentioned at the start is, at the moment, I'm focusing on businesses to have that strategic growth plan for the business.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, but at the same time, building a plan is all good if you're not going to do anything with it. So you need to execute it. And so it's helping them, making them accountable to say, oh, you wanted to increase your revenue by 100%. Well, how are you going to do it? And in order to do that, you need to do this. And have you done that? And so that as you move up, you find that, oh, there's no one there to challenge me. There's no one questioning why I haven't done that. And so that accountability plays a big role as well.
And Neeta, do you find that that's where you can really give great benefit, is being that accountable person to someone who was already at CEO level? So there's not going to be a lot of people that they're accountable just because they're the CEO, but if they have an executive business coach, they're accountable to them, and you're going to make sure that you drive them to be their best self at all times.
Absolutely.
And I'm guessing that that people don't actually realize that they can have really amazing benefits from working with someone, particularly that outside looking in, you can pinpoint areas of issues quite a lot easier because they're looking at it every day, they're dealing with it every day, whereas an external person can see from a different perspective, and that's often enough to change and shift things up, isn't it?
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, a CEO will have their board of advisors, they will have their, in some cases they could have stakeholders in the business, their team, their employees, they're all looking to them, they're dependent on them. And then suddenly it's like, well, what about me? As I said, who's looking after me? And that's where I come in to say, not only can I support you as a human being,
Yes,
I understand your business because I make the effort to understand your business, who's in your business, why you have your business, all of those aspects. And so it's where I'm different is that I've got the business experience, whether it's accountancy, marketing, all those pillars in the business to kind of say, well, let's tap into that. And again, if I'm very open in the sense that if I find I can help, I will help. If I find that actually I can't help, then by doing networking, say, you know what, maybe you should look at this, don't ignore it, but actually speak to someone that deals with it on a day-to-day basis that actually can help you. And so, at first, I know I struggled with being a coach in terms of I try to be the jack of all trades. It's like, I can do this, and that. And actually, it's narrowing it down to kind of say, I know what I enjoy, I know what my strengths are, but in order to speak to the right audience, I was narrowing it down to kind of say, this is what I enjoy, so this is what I'm going to do. And last year's word was, to be bold, and actually was to be bold with myself to say, what am I good at? What do I want to do? And this is what I want the CEOs to do, to say, look within yourself to say, what do you want? Okay, yes, you've got people that are dependent on you, but what do you want? What matters to you? And a lot of people start their business and then over, whether it's 5, 10, 15 years, they think, why has this become a stressful job? Why did I? And so you go back to your roots to say, well, who am I? Is this now? Values can also change. It's like, well, actually, now this is important. Circumstances change. Now this is important to me, and so it's important for every business, whether it's a corporation or an SME, to kind of say, well, what's important today to us? What's also important to our clients, to the market we serve, and is there alignment? And that's so important, because I know with me, when I got alignment of what I want to do and who I want to serve, suddenly things just become so much easier. It pays off, absolutely.
Nita, do you find that your clients, being CEOs, do you find that they, whilst they might have strategic plans in place, they're not right for the business? I'm just curious that when you go into that scenario where you're working with a CEO and you're looking deeply into their business, do you still find companies and that need their business planning like realigned or revamped, or they need a new strategy? Is that often what you find that's led to the problem that the CEOs sought help with in the first place, that their planning's not right?
Yeah, because sometimes if you do a plan for 12 months, it's like we want to do this, and so much gets cramped into 12 months.
Yeah.
And so the plan it's totally unrealistic because they're trying to do too much all at once. Whereas what I say to businesses, well, actually look 3 to 5 years. We're still going to look at the 12 months, but and then suddenly it's like they think of the bigger picture. They think of what's possible rather than what they want to do. And then you kind of bring it down to, okay, what can we focus on in the first 12 months? And so by looking at a broader picture, you get to choose what you actually need to do now, but also want to do now. Okay. And so where businesses are faced with, decisions or, initiatives that actually don't align to their business, the fact they're probably finding it stressing them out. They're putting too much energy and they're not getting the results. And by talking to them to kind of, again, peel those layers to say, why is this not happening? And if they say, I don't know, well, actually, let's go back to the start to kind of say, why did you have it in the first place as an initiative? And sometimes it's like, it was a market trend, or it was, somebody's idea. And when I take the businesses of going through a plan, it's like, well, actually, let's put everything on the table. Let's say we want to do it in 3 to 5 years, but now let's look at them individually and go down a level to say, what needs to be done? Do we actually have the resources today? We might have them in 3 years, but do we have the resources today? So if I've only got, say, 3 marketing people, but I want to do a massive campaign and I want to launch 5 products, well, that marketing team can only do one at a time, or simultaneously so much. And so it is by looking at the plan and saying, well, what is possible? What capacity do you have? What departments will be needed for each of those initiatives? And some of them could happen simultaneously. Some of them will have to wait, in which case you've got to make that bold decision to say, is timing important? Can it wait for another 2 years, or even 6 months? And so by to answer your question, CEOs will have problems because they haven't done that deeper analysis. Yes, they've done the plan, but there's like, well, how am I actually going to make it happen? In fact, I've been doing a series of social media posts just talking about that journey. How do you know what what you're going to do today if you don't know where you're going? And you basically do that plan and work backwards. In fact, I'm just thinking how I match this with my experience. When a company used to change their software system, and especially in the Office of Finance, they were like, well, we've got to do, the board of directors need customer profitability reports and they need these reports. And I was like, well, okay, let's look at the report that you need, but are you capturing information at a customer level? Are you capturing this? And how are you supposed to produce reports at that level if you're not capturing the data? And so it's the same thing with planning. If you know where you're going, let's work backwards to say, well, what needs to happen? What data do I need to capture, or what initiatives or whatever it is do I need to capture for it to make it happen? And so it's the process that actually is failing the CEO rather than just doing a plan.
Okay. And that's your favorite thing to do, isn't it, around process planning to get things back on track? And I'm guessing that from your accountants and financial background as well, that you can attach dollars and outcomes to that as well.
Yes, as an accountant, we learn to be prudent but also efficient. And so we don't like waste. If something is just, spending money but not earning any money, then actually you start questioning, why does it need to happen? happen. And so efficiency actually drives me to say, in fact, I remember, oh God, one of my first accountancy roles was collecting budgets. And the cost, called cost center manager, the budget managers, they will give me a spreadsheet with their figures. I will then manually key into the system again, so it's duplicate entry. And we were talking about 25 years ago now,
Yeah,
actually.
of course.
But it was like, why am I repeating what they did? This duplication of effort. How can I make this better?
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was like, I'd get that spreadsheet on disk, so it's quite a while ago. I'd press a button and it would automatically push into the system. And so efficiency is what drives me. I want to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that that's what you impart for your CEOs as well. I'm guessing that there's always efficiencies to be gained in the way companies and businesses run. There's always little bits to tweak and to fix and to work better at. So you're always going to be able to find something that needs and can be better. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, when I started my my assistant management role, Royston was he's actually from Australia, he's in Australia now. He said, don't do things because they've always been done. And that's always stuck with me, because people do things out of habit. Oh yeah, I do this every Friday because it's always been done. Well, who uses it? I don't know, it's what I do. And I was like, well, no, in fact, when our customers used to change their systems, they used to have like 50 reports, and I was like, are you seriously going to reproduce all these reports? In fact, let's not do any and see who screams. Because if they need the report, and before you know it, it was like, oh, actually, and so what happens there is that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What you find is that when people have a to-do list, they actually need a not to-do list, because they are doing so many things and they don't know why they do it. And so you want to do that self-assessment to say, why am I doing this? And by setting goals, you get to question yourself. Is this taking me towards my goal? Why am I doing it because I always do it? And so by doing a strategic plan and goals that break it down into bite-sized chunks, you start to question yourself. Is this taking me forward, or is this pulling me back? Is it distracting me from what I should be focusing on? And what also happens there is that when you try to do everything, you get overwhelmed. Whereas if you just focus on what needs to happen to take you on your journey, then you're not going to be so overwhelmed. And definitely. So it pays back.
Yeah. Neeta, I want to know, as we're drawing to the end of the interview, what your big vision of the future looks like.
Oh, wow. This is where I say what success means to me. And everybody has different meanings of success, okay? And the way I've been brought up, especially with all the corporate roles I've had, I like to live today as the moment. Yes, I have a few plans, but what I want to achieve in 5 years' time is what I want to achieve today, which is actually, I want that, when I say work-life balance, I want to serve I only serve 5 clients at a time. Because I value my time, my family time, time to support the elderly and as well as my friends. I want to do charity work with a couple of weeks back, I was helping a cancer patient, with the pain and everything. And so that's so precious to me in terms of, again, it's helping people as well as CEOs not to be alone, in whatever they're doing. And so today, as well as 5 years' time, I want to, serve just a few clients, have some time to myself, serve, the community, but also travel. I love, and exploring different cultures and
I miss travel.
And it's different when you're traveling through business, because you're kind of in at the customs site, back on the aeroplane and back. Saying that, I try to introduce a bit of pleasure. So when I went to IBM's head offices in New York State, I made sure I went to Manhattan and walked Brooklyn Bridge at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was fantastic. And so success to me is what I call having that moment of contentment, of I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Because if you kind of, it's that gratitude, if you value what you've got today, not what you haven't got, then actually you're successful already.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
And the biggest thing for me, especially when you come across people that are, dying because of illnesses, it's like, I don't do the lottery because I've already got the lottery. I've got the good health. I've got the supportive environment around me and everything. And this is what I value, and this is what I want to carry on. So where I see myself in 5 years' time is to be surrounded by a community that is supportive, to have clients that have, where I can take them on that positive impact, to live their legacy and all of those things. And I'm so much of a one-to-one person, so I want to carry on doing that, to have that one-to-one relationship, because it's
very special.
It is very special. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Neeta, I love what you do. I love your approach to the way that you do it. And for CEOs who are looking for a really special, supportive coach, mentor, strategist, I can't recommend Neeta highly enough. Neeta, thank you so much for coming on the Everyday Business Show. And I do know that you have a page where people can get in contact with you, and we will add that to the notes for this show when we release it. And I really hope that those CEOs that are looking for a very supportive, niched business coach will connect with you and enjoy your services in the next little while. Neeta Solanki, thank you so much for talking to me today. That's our lot for this week, and we will be back again soon. Bye for now.
I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, because if I fail, that means I fail for my entire female nation, I call it.
Is that possible? That was the question for myself. And it is absolutely possible. Is that possible? That was the question for myself. And it is absolutely